Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be fixing this lean that I got going on the front seats that I picked up for the XJ. I have seats for the XJ already, but these things are pretty beat. I do have rough country neoprene covers over them. They seem to work well, they look good, but honestly I prefer just like the factory look. I've always been an OEM plus kind of guy, even though half this Cherokee is not going to be that way. So I picked up a set that's in pretty good condition, but one of them does have the lean going on the driver's side. So let's get these fixed up. All right, so first thing that we're gonna do to this thing to fix the lean is we're gonna flip it around so we could get this seat taken off and see what the frame looks like. I should mention that it's probably a good idea to put a blanket or something like that underneath it. Last thing you want is to tear up your seats. This floor is pretty soft, so I'm not too worried about it. Once I get everything cleaned up, then I might get a blanket that's nice and clean to be able to toss them on. But let's take a look at what we got. I'm gonna start off by removing this clip. It's pretty easy. You can see the little area that's right here. You may have to bend it out to get it. See if I can't just get mine and snake it out here. Sweet. Okay, easy peasy. Okay, and while we're here, we're going to remove 2 of the 4 13mm bolts. All right, so now we got the seat flipped around, so we're facing the front here. So we're going to start removing these bolts here. There's one here and there's another one there. You can see I'm definitely not going to be able to get anything in here to do that. So what you could do is you're going to press this and you're going to slide this forward. Let me show you what I mean. We're blocked on, you can see the bolt barely there and here. So all we're going to do is press this up and pull it up. After that, it should be real easy to get these bolts. Now that we got that free, this whole thing should just come up and just like that. All right, so after the seat's off, this is what we're left with. I don't see anything necessarily bad with this just yet. We're going to take this bracket off and see how it looks. So it's going to be these 4 bolts. So you should see these 2 and then these 2 nuts and 2 bolts. Let me take these off and then we'll see what's up. So I've taken everything apart. I'm looking at the actual bracket itself. It looks really good, to be honest. I've seen on forums where they crack here on the side. Everything looks good on the bracket, and the sliders themselves, while they're pretty corroded, they look to be in good shape. So after looking at this seat, it may just be an upholstery issue. So I think we're going to take this thing apart. Hopefully you guys can see that. We're going to take this thing apart and see if we can't get it looking good. In order to undo this bottom, it's pretty simple. All it is just 6 or 8 screws and it'll come undone. Okay. Oops, my apologies. There's 2 more here in the front as well. So now we're going to just slowly work this off. All right. Awesome. So there's our cover, and there is our seat. Boy, is this thing rough. Shoot. Okay. I guess I did find my issue. Now, unfortunately, the question is what am I going to do about it? Being that it's metal, I might be able to tack it back together, but pretty wishful thinking with it being so thin. Hey guys, so it's the next day, and I've been thinking about what I'm going to do with this foam for the driver's side seat. I tried to stitch it back together with some welds, but it just keeps blowing through. And unfortunately, having a 95 and lower, we don't have a direct brand new replacement for our seat. So you'll have to go to your local junkyard or eBay or something similar. Your best bet is to try to look at the passenger side, since it's more than likely, the better of the two, since it gets used less, and try to find one that isn't cracked. I went to my local junkyard. I found one that isn't cracked. It does have a bit of rust down below, but we're going to get that fixed right up. And you guys that have 96 and up, luckily for you, you guys have a brand new replacement for the TJYJ mod. All it is just a brand new OE replacement for those, but they fit really well on the XJ, and they're a lot more comfy than your originals. So you can pick it up off of somewhere like Summit. I'll see if I can't put a link down below for the replacement for you guys that have a 97 and up. But for now, let's get this one cleaned up, and we're gonna bring this chair back to life, see if we can't use a bit of steam to kind of raise the foam a little bit. And then after that, we're gonna install it inside of the seat. Okay guys, so we just blasted and painted this seat here, the one that we got from the junkyard. It looks pretty good for the most part. It does have some spots that were developing rust holes, and it does have a small crack on one of the areas. But to be honest with you, I'm not that worried about it. It's definitely better than what I had with the lean that was going on. This one shouldn't lean at all. And the application that I'm using it for, this Cherokee is going to be used specifically for overlanding, camping, doing trails, stuff like that. So I'm not overly worried about everything being completely perfect, although I'm a little OCD when it comes to things, but I'm not going to go out there and continue to spend, $40, $50 on seats till I find a good one. So this is the old one. This is our quote unquote new one from the junkyard. I have basically brought the foam as much back to life as I possibly could. I mean, I know people love to scoot their ass out of the seats on a lot of these, on every single vehicle. So it helps to use a bit of steam, try to bring those back to what they originally were, let it dry out, and then they'll just continue to keep their shape. So we're going to clean up these sliders. I'm going to use a bit of compressed air, then I'm going to use some lubrication, and after that, we'll put those onto the seats, and then we will put these inside of their covers. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go through a time lapse, but we have 8 screws in total, and we have 2 rods that are going to go in. And that's it. All right, now the cushions are in the covers. We're going to clean this stuff up before we reassemble it. So I got my handy dandy little drill brush, and I have this Bissell. All I'm going to do is just soak this in the solution with the Bissell. I'm going to go through it all with the drill brush, and then we're going to finish it up with the shampoo and let it dry overnight. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I'm going to put you guys again through a time lapse. All right, so now we're done cleaning the seats. Before I start putting all this stuff back together, I know somebody's going to ask me, Ryan, isn't this a trail rig? Why are you trying to make it so nice? Why'd you paint the axles? Why'd you clean the seats? Why did you put, you know what? At the end of the day, the answer is I have no idea. I have no idea. I know this is going to be a rig that gets messed up, that has bumps and bruises, and I completely plan on stripping the undercoating and putting new undercoating on. And why am I doing that to a rig that's just going to get beat up on the trails? And the honest answer is I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know why I do this to myself. I jump in a rabbit hole and I just couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. But anyways, hope that answers your question, or rather doesn't answer your question. But let's get these seats put back together, toss this thing in. All right, so first things first, we're going to be putting the rails on the seat, or the seat on the rails rather. So pretty easy. We got the studs, bolts, just like we had before when we took it off. So the first 2 are not where it goes, second set, and then it just quite literally lays down. So nuts, bolts. These are, in case you didn't label your hardware, these are the smaller bolts than the 4 that go on the bottom. So you should have 2 nuts, 2 smaller bolts, which should look like this. In case, so one here on the left, you should have a set of 4. Well, that's 2, but a set of 4 for the bottom whenever we took the cushion off. So these 2 here, the smaller ones, just go on the back. Real simple. Nuts in the front. And then we're going to snug it down. Cool. All right, so first things first, we're going to put our seat just like this. Make sure the straps go around because we're going to attach those here in a second. And now we're going to flip this entire thing over so we can get to the bolts. All right, so after you put the seat on, the rest is pretty easy. I moved my slider so that way it's a lot easier to get to these bolts. And you'll just thread the 2 bolts in. So now what we're going to do is we are going to tighten these down. Cool. And we're going to flip this whole thing over. So notice these are hard to get to, like we talked before. Just make sure that you press your slider. You can slide it right forward, and you'll be able to get to these bolts. Cool. And then for this, pretty self-explanatory and easy. We already have our pin going through, and this quite literally just goes through this little area here. And most of them aren't elastic anymore. They're all pretty old. And you attach it there, and that just helps keep the seat on. These little pieces here will go onto these hooks. Okay, well, like I was saying before, as you can see, This is pretty rough. What about this one? See if we can't get one over. Okay, we can. Just make sure you're careful with these. Obviously, you just saw mine broke right here. So definitely not ideal in my scenario. I think I'm just going to take that off there. These are pretty, as you can see, they're just brittle. All right, with all of that in, now the only thing left to do is clean up the bottom of this because the bottom of this looks like trash. And then we're going to toss these things in.